Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver when she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, she passed on 1/1/2020, but we started TogetherForSharon.com in her memory. Today's guest is somebody I admire and also love because he doesn't even know it probably, but the reason I found him, and we'll try and play the clip, is he's a big basketball fan and player. And that's something that many of you might not know, but I played a lot in college and my life is literally devoted to basketball. NBA is the only sport I love, although I admire sports. And something important that we're going to really focus today and means the world to me is how you can slow the progression of Parkinson's disease with sports like basketball. And I could talk for 12 hours about basketball, but then Bill won't want to come be my friend anymore. So I really just want to welcome Bill. I want to thank you. You inspire me, but you don't know because that one video that I mean, you post a lot, but when I saw you on a court, I had come back from my own basketball game, which I have a group of like 50 or 60 guys. We play Sunday. I can't play anymore, unfortunately, because I've had 4 major back surgeries. But when I see you out there, no matter the battle, pain, Parkinson, you're still out there fighting, and you're honestly a hero of mine. So welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks. No, I don't feel like I deserve all that. You're a hero of mine for all you do to sort of raise awareness and do so much for the community. So no, I appreciate you and your all your efforts. So
Thanks. That means the world. And again, this is just beyond just us. The goal today is not just awareness, but the world to know your journey. But I wish someone out there, even if we reach one person, I always say, listening learns that progression might not have a cure, but you can slow it through exercise. And unfortunately, my mother, it was too late by the time, for exercise, but it's not for so many others. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background, what brought you to the world of awareness, and then we'll get right into some basketball because I should have brought my ball. I didn't think.
sure, here we go.
You bring one. Yeah, please bring that out. I love it.
I got my
I
Pacers.
love it. That's beautiful. I'm a big Reggie Miller and
All right,
my favorite was Larry Bird, but we won't debate we'll have that. We actually have another show coming called
sure.
I don't advertise it yet, but it's a sports show for Parkinson. So I
I
love that.
saw that. I saw your reference.
You're actually
Larry Bird was the Pacers coach for a while, so
yeah.
worked for the organization. So we'll
Oh,
claim him too. So
that's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah, well, we'll have,
Uh,
hope you have fun today and we'll have you back on that. But again,
sure.
maybe you could just kind of bring us into the world and your journey.
Well, sure. In my late 40s, I started noticing some things. If you just want to kind of talk about how Parkinson's came to be a factor in my life. Looking back, when I was like 47, 48, I sort of developed what I called a bum shoulder and it would get stiff. And I went to physical therapy and some things, but so often is the case, you have no clue that it could be something like Parkinson's. But anyway, I didn't think a whole lot about that. It got a little bit better. It would still bother me, but when I was like 49, I'd be out walking and my left foot would just cramp up and my toes would curl and it would just really kind of stop my stride. I'd stop and kind of try to figure out what was going on, and I knew it was something seemed off. So went to a neurologist, and that's what led ultimately to my diagnosis with Parkinson's, was just something so simple as a left foot that was cramping up. And like I say, looking back, I see the other signs and symptoms dating back earlier, but that's how things began with me.
No, I appreciate it. And again, I'm so grateful for your time. And I think sharing the journey is so important because, like I said, to someone out there, I think listening that, and please everyone share this, but someone out there listening, kind of maybe having a tough day and didn't even
Right.
think that sports and any sport doesn't have to be basketball will help you. Can you tell us, what brought you into I mean, we probably played younger, but what brought you into being able to, realize that when you played basketball, that it helped, even with symptoms and things, because I think that this is a topic I don't see much. Like I don't see, for some reason, I never see hockey players or basketball. Now we do have obviously Mr. Brian Grant, who has the Brian Grant Foundation. He was a former Miami Heat and Trailblazer. If you're an NBA fan, like I watched him growing up. But what pushed you to basketball? Maybe tell us a little bit about the sport that means so much to us all and how it's kind of showed some help when you were going through some of the symptoms.
Sure. I mean, I've always loved basketball. I never played in high school. or college. I mean, I played some intramurals, but I really got more into basketball as I got a little bit older into my 20s, and just began to go to the Y and needed a way to work out and, a way to stay healthy. And so I really began to enjoy basketball a lot, and it became my a big part of my workout. In terms of when I had Parkinson's, I had sort of gotten away from playing for a while. It's in my 40s. I was busy with work and a lot of other things, and I'd gotten away from playing as often as I once did. But then the Parkinson's happened, and I needed a way to get back into fitness, and so it just seemed a natural. Once I got on carbidopa levodopa, fortunately my cramping got better, so I was able to walk better and to get on the court and play. And so I play with a group of guys that are I'm the only one that has Parkinson's, but they're very accepting of me, and which I appreciate, because I had definitely have my off nights due to various things. Sometimes just my skill level is not the greatest, so I shouldn't always blame it on Parkinson's, but but sometimes certainly the Parkinson's slows me down. But all in all, I feel like I still fit in pretty well with a group of older guys playing. Some nights I don't think you can tell that I have Parkinson's too much if you're not looking for it, but it's definitely, I always feel so much better after I play, and the more often I can play, the better I feel, really.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. It's kind of hard for me even today. I woke up, we walked about 2 miles, my wife and I, but the guys, I used to run the group. Now it's completely collapsing because I used to be in charge of it. And it's hard because I can't be there. And it's so helpful mental health, and just, you forget everything, even Parkinson's, probably for a few minutes of the day.
Right.
What does it like feel, maybe mentally, but also physically? Do you have, like as you're playing, do you ever worry that it could affect you more? Do you ever, I think it's great that they're accepting. I think you should just slam dunk on one of them if they talk to you. I can't anymore, but, like I'm just curious because as a player, I'm worried. I've broken every body part, ankles and everything, but then on top of that, to have Parkinson's, I wonder, and do you ever worry, which unfortunately I'm only 37, I can't really play anymore. Do you ever wonder when that day might come that it's tough to play anymore?
Yeah, I mean, the latter part, I'll start with your latter question. I definitely do have that concern sometimes about that day coming that I can't play for all practical purposes. I mean, I assume that, for a long time to come, even after you can't play, you can do things like shoot free, just shoot around and enjoy that part of it, even if you can't really bang around
Mhm.
as much as you used to.
I'm inviting you to South Florida to shoot with me anytime.
Yeah, well, hey, let's do it. Let's meet up. You can come to Indiana too. Let's do that. No, I'd love to.
We can even film it and talk about Parkinson's.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. Seriously. Um, like just earlier this week, I had a night where my game was totally off, and I think it really was related to Parkinson's that night, and so it sort of raises those fears. But when that day ever comes, if it does, and I hope to be playing a decade from now. I mean, I'm optimistic, because right now, like there could become a need to adjust my meds or something, and then that could get me, buy me more time if just by sort of doing the therapeutic medical things for the disease as we go. But when that day comes that you can't play, you'd have to look for other things to fill that gap and to still stay active. A friend of mine, Steve Squires, I'll mention him. He was diagnosed with Parkinson in his mid-20s. I don't know. Do you know Steve?
I know him, yeah.
You know Steve? Yeah, well, he's in mid-40s now, so he's had Parkinson's for more than 20 years. And he loves bicycling, among other sports, bowling and other things, but he got to a point where the balance with bicycling was becoming sometimes an issue for him. So he's gone to a trike.
Right, right. Yeah, he told me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
ride
so
a bike too because of my back. I can't ride a bicycle, but I agree.
okay.
I think it's so important to not give up, just to switch.
Right.
Yeah, that's an amazing point, which I think needs to be made more. I
Right.
appreciate.
So he's adjusted. He's found a new way to bike, and he's going like 30, 40, 50 miles in a day. And he and his wife, and I mean, to me, that's an example. That's what I, would just hope to keep doing, is to adjust and adapt and stay active and keep at it. So,
I love that he's coming, I think, on the show soon, but I'm going to share now something that really, I'll try and play without the sound, but this is how I found you and met you because
okay. All
watching.
right.
I'm going to play it as we talk. Oh, the sound. I don't want to hear the sound while we're doing it, but I just think it's amazing that there are people, even marathons or 5Ks, basketball court, everybody's still, out there trying their best. And it's also fun. It's not just about the competition, which is also good, but it's just getting the exercise. And like you always say, keep moving. So I
Mhm.
wanted everyone to, my replay, which is perfect. Can you talk a little bit about, the first signs? You mentioned it from a moment ago, and also, what was it like, impact on your family? Because I know that that's a very important part of all of our lives.
Sure. Yeah, no, my wife and I have been married for like 26 years, and we have 3 daughters who are all adults. Two of them are married. The youngest is not yet, but so yeah, family is a huge part of our lives, and yeah, they were definitely a big support through the whole process of getting diagnosed, for that matter, and then living with it since then. Um, when we were first trying to figure out why I was having issues, we I got a test called an EMG,
Mhm.
where they sort of hook up needles to your muscles, and you get little electrical jolts, and they're trying to determine what's, the reason for your muscle abnormalities. And my first EMG actually came out abnormal. And so, the various things that can be a cause of abnormal EMGs, I mean, it can be something like ALS and other diseases more serious even than Parkinson's. So interestingly, when we finally got the diagnosis of Parkinson's, there was part of it that was a little bit of a relief, because we knew then that we knew what we were dealing with, and it was something that we could live with. And especially, I've come to know people who have lived with Parkinson's, as you know, for many decades. We have like Matt Eagles out there 50 years in, amazing things like that. So yeah, no, and since then we've just made it our goal to keep a positive attitude, and to stay fit, stay active, and to do everything we can just to keep it from, keep it in its place and keep living life.
I love that. And this is a story I read, and we support, and actually I'm on the committee for the Boca Raton, the South Florida Walk Committee, for the walk each year for the Parkinson's Foundation. So I wanted everyone, please go to parkinson.org/living dash with dash Parkinson slash story slash Bill dash McCleery, and you can read a lot more on Bill and his background. I love this photo. But
Well,
this,
thanks.
yeah, this is
My
a
wife
lot.
took that picture.
I think I hope we use that one for our show, but it's beautiful. And you can see how, and Deborah's actually a close friend of mine. She's with the found. There's a lot too, and Esther also. But let's
Yeah,
see.
Esther does all sorts of, she's such a great advocate. I've gotten to know a lot of people online through social media with Parkinson's. It's been a big part of my way of coping and dealing with Parkinson's, has been that online community of people like Esther. Um, I met Gavin Mogan
Mhm.
uh, on Twitter. He's been a great inspiration. So yeah, I mean, we live in a day and age where you can participate in a community around something like Parkinson's more than probably ever before. So
No, that's an amazing point, because my mother, unfortunately, when she passed, we didn't have this community. We didn't even know about it. My mother, I felt alone as a caregiver. My mother felt really alone as someone diagnosed. And I even say to many people, even like you, if I had just had, even the FaceTime now, and had you on the call, and somebody who's going through it, and the three of us, even my mother, me, and you, if we had spoken, she might have not just smiled, but knew that she wasn't alone. But we never had that. We honestly, I don't think she ever physically or met somebody with Parkinson's. That's
I
the
don't know.
crazy part. We didn't go. That's why I started Together for Sharon. We do not accept money. I don't want anything. You can donate to other organizations like the Parkinson's Foundation directly from our site, but I always joke and say, if you send me $1, I got to send it back. Now I got to pay you. I got to pay for all that, and just that's not why I'm in this. I want the world to know that people like you are out there. It's not just about me and my mother's journey anymore. We all have to be, in my opinion, a family in this fight. And again, what I look for, really, to be honest, is unique stories, and yours is, because I don't know why, and maybe I'm wrong, you could check, but I've never seen anyone else kind of playing basketball with Parkinson, but talking about it. And I think that's so important and admirable. And that's why, again, I'm such an honor to have you with me today. I think
Right, and what year was it when your mother passed again?
1/1/2020. So in some ways she missed COVID, thankfully. And I know if I send our love and support to you in getting better from COVID, but it was tough. So I wrote about it in the book, and I think about it every day. But it's funny. I wrote in the book. There are many Sundays where I was actually putting on all the gear. I don't know about you, but I have so many. It takes me an hour to get ready now to play basketball because I have to wear like ankle braces and this, and it's literally crazy. But because I've broken both ankles too. And we love the game, so we don't stop, even though I was told 100 times not to play anymore. So I
Right.
remember getting ready. It's like 7, 8 in the morning, rushing over about to go play with my friends and forget life for a minute, and even just to get some mental health for myself because I was her caregiver. And due to delusions and hallucinations, she would call like several times an hour. And she thought the caregivers with her were harming her. I had to install video cameras. I have a law enforcement background, so I believed her because she, was very honest. And luckily they weren't harming her. It was the delusions and hallucination due to, Parkinson. But I dropped the basketball, I dropped my life, and I dropped the gear to help her because, we do as caregivers have to take care of our own health, but I didn't believe that I didn't know how much time we had. So I wanted to help her, and she only felt comfortable when I was by her side. So I knew even as a caregiver, I had to do everything, whether it's 24/7. And I still live by that today. There are days where I do many of these, but I want the world to know that no one's alone. And I also can't stop until we find a cure. But there are days where my mental health is kind of whacked out and like it's not priority, which is not smart, but I just want everyone to know about these journeys, and you're again an incredible inspiration.
Well, no, I appreciate that. How long did your mother have Parkinson's before passing?
She had it about 15 years, but she didn't tell us much. Or I knew what the word Parkinson, which is an odd story. I didn't know it was a disease. She lived independently, and she had ability to live independently for 7 years. But one night, and it's a long story, which we'll talk some other time, or anyone out there knows probably, or if you read the book.
I
But
need to
she
read the book. I still need to
Yeah,
read the book
no,
myself.
I appreciate it. And so she went for a special trial, and I don't blame the doctors because it's not their fault, but we don't know if they drastically changed her medication. But she came home 4 a.m. I was rushed. I called my father from New York. I'm in Florida. Told me rush over to your mother's house. I had no clue what was going on. I'm trained in police, so that didn't help at all. And I found her at 4 a.m. moving her furniture out of her home. So I got there and said, "What's happening?" And she thought there were Nazis in her home that were going to harm her. I didn't know what to say. I rushed her to the hospital, and they said we saved her life, but the next 4 years was a downhill kind of spiral, and that was the toughest time of my life. And I'm grateful that we are talking because even just having you learn about her keeps her memory alive. But we do all this today for those like you battling, for the families, and for the communities in the world that I think that need to be aware. And I still am confident if we all work together as a family that we'll find a cure much quicker, but it takes everybody together. And that's why, again, I think it's so important that your story was shared. And then the second I saw it, I'm like, wow, basketball. I bet you, if we lived near each other, we'd probably be playing every day together. So
Well, that'd be awesome. No, yeah, the to work for a cure is, I mean, it's encouraging just to realize that there is a lot of energy now from so many people working toward a cure. And I mean, it makes a person hopeful for, for the future generations. And even if, I mean, obviously the cure is the golden, I mean, that's what we all want, but even if we can improve therapeutics and all the rest to such a point that it becomes even more manageable. So where it's, I mean, not as dire a diagnosis. I mean, there are endpoints short of a cure that can still be really positive and encouraging, and again, hopefully just it's all on that journey toward an eventual cure. But yeah.
I agree. And do you have, this is an interesting topic, one you brought up, but I never actually asked someone, do you have any role models or sources of inspiration during your, journey? Because I don't really talk much about that. Obviously, there's a lot of famous athletes who have Parkinson's. Some are kind of more quiet. Some unfortunately aren't with us. I had the honor to interview one of Muhammad Ali's daughters about his Parkinson's, and they tell I don't want to take too much time away. They told me a story which was beautiful. They said, when he was struggling, Muhammad Ali, he actually started, he did this a lot, but he would rip magazines, like, or just kind of, and no one in the family understood what it was. And then they started kind of, not, like not joking around, but like kind of telling him to stop. Well, he got frustrated even more. So then all of a sudden the whole family would meet and they would all tear the magazines together, and it made him feel good. And those are the kind of stories that we need to know, because someone else might be kind of struggling or going through that. And we also know that Parkinson's is so unique that what happened to my mother's journey does not at all mean it'll happen to someone else. But all the journeys I feel in our paths all come together because we all want the same thing, which is a cure. So maybe you could touch a little bit about, any inspiration or role models, even in the basketball world, and then we're going to shift a little more about Bill and you, and it'll be fun.
Uh, I have sort of already mentioned, I think, my inspirations in conversation, just in terms of the people I've met, like Steve, and people I've met online. There is one individual who I haven't mentioned yet, and that's Scott Newman, he's one of the co-founders of Rocksteady Boxing. And actually, I knew Scott before he was ever diagnosed with Parkinson's. He's had it for 20 some years now. He's in his early to mid 60s, and he was, I think, 39 or 40 when he was diagnosed. But he was Marion County prosecutor, which that's Indianapolis. That Marion County is the county in which Indianapolis is located. But he was Marion County prosecutor, and he was diagnosed with Parkinson's when he held that office. And I was a newspaper reporter, and I had met him as a member of the media covering local stuff when he was prosecutor, and gotten to know him a little bit. And then so it was interesting when, I knew him over the years after he was diagnosed, and we'd stay in touch just a little bit, not really often, but we definitely did stay in touch. And then the day came when I was diagnosed, and so then I was able to share that with him, and we've talked, and so he's definitely an inspiration himself as well.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, support is so important. I mentioned earlier, we didn't have it, unfortunately. So everyone out there listening, you got to seek it out sometime. Don't
Yeah.
just stay there alone and think that you're alone. Because like Bill said, and I promise and swear by it. I mean, I don't want to kind of get sad or dark here, but I just told my wife the other day that this, I mean, you know what this is. This is a tulip everyone knows for Parkinson's. It says PD. I told my wife when I pass someday, I want it buried with me, and I want it on my grave tomb. Which, again, I don't want to get into that, but it means the world to me that we find a cure fast. And
Yeah.
I hope in my time we don't have to. I don't even want to. I was joking, say I don't want to do the show because, I mean, we could do the show and just talk about basketball for an hour, but I don't want to have to, hear that you're still battling it. So I'm going to be thinking of you and your family 24/7 always. So I wanted to shift a little to I always say a little bit of fun for some of the guys. It's not fun because it's tough, but let's see if you do, and you could pass if you don't like a question. But first one is, can you list 3 words that describe who you are?
3 words. Well, I mean, I could go so many different directions. I believe I have faith in God. So I could say I'm a believer. Obviously, I'm a husband, a father. I'm a writer. I'm exceeding my word limit. You said 3.
I, I also think we could talk for hours about the writer because that's an interesting, not just career before Parkinson, but was it sports writing or what, political, what kind of writer?
For 21 years, I worked for the Indianapolis Star, and I covered a lot of different things over that time. I worked I covered local schools, suburban growth.
Amazing.
I was the early morning breaking news reporter, looking at police reports and covering crime. Then I went to work for state government 10 years ago, and so I do a different type of writing now. And yeah, so
That's awesome. I mean, when I was in high school, I was on the newspaper, and then college, I actually worked in the paper and covered sports, and it was great because you would get front row to it's always fun.
yeah,
And
right.
I actually became an attorney and a lawyer, specifically a lawyer and a master's in management because I watched Jerry Maguire. And actually, that he was in Miami, the true story, but from the character. Then when I was finishing college, I drove to all 4 major sports teams in South Florida: the Heat, the Dolphins, Marlins back then, and the with women Panthers. But you know, it's like unless, unfortunately, this is my experience, you don't unless you know someone, it's very hard to break into that. So kind of moved on and went into law enforcement world. But I always had a love for sports. My father was actually the who was the doctor for the New York Islanders when they won all the Stanley Cups. So he actually did all the surgeries. So a lot of like Mike Bossy and Nystrom, and I was sitting on the bench with Gordie Howe, but don't even know any of. I don't remember a thing because I was so young. But that was, and I remember as a child being brought into the back into the locker room of the Devils, New Jersey Devils, and getting like a signed hockey stick. That was like the cool. I thought it was so cool because my whole class was there, but it was because of my father. So sports, as you know, changes us and really helps us get through things. I just bought a pack of basketball cards for the first time for my two boys. So, you know, my daughter doesn't really care, but it was really cool to see their eyes light up when they open that's their first, they're already like 6 and 10. I don't know why I waited so long, but it was just, and he has them all spread out. I wish I could show you all over the counter now. So it's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
I think we lost your audio
Oh, can you hear me
a little bit. It's a little low.
now? Can you hear me now?
So the next one was, maybe you could tell us what is one moment or one most memorable moment that stands out through most of your work with awareness so far?
That's a good question. I'm currently involved in a fundraiser for the Parkinson's Foundation. It's a moving day event. You're familiar with moving day events, probably, I'm sure. There's one coming to Indianapolis. It'll be September 21st, so later this month. And so I'm right now in the midst of that. So that's at the top of my sort of awareness. I was featured in an Eli Lilly video about genetic medicine, which was kind of interesting. That I don't know if you'd call that part of outreach per se, but it was sort of being I mean, it's outreach in its own way. It's just being featured by a medical medicine company as a representative of someone who has Parkinson's. I went to Elkhart County, Indiana, to help Steve. Well, not really to help. We didn't do that much to help, but we were at least there with Steve Squires and his family as they did a Michael J. Fox Foundation fundraiser. So it was kind of a Back to the Future theme, and so
Mhm.
the old DeLorean was there, and that was very memorable. So I mean, he's raised so much money for the Fox Foundation, but
Yeah, he's
so
amazing. And Tom, I said hi if you speak to him. I'm looking forward to getting to know him more. And
yeah, I'll do that.
this is an important question. I always say, sometimes I mean, all of us hopefully have someone behind the scenes, so someone not on the camera with us today. Who helps you during times of struggle? And also, I was a caregiver. What tips could you give those listening who might be caregivers?
I mean, obviously my wife Amy and our Betsy, Abby, and Hannah, our daughters, and their husbands or significant. Two are married. One has a significant other. I mean, so family. My even my parents certainly. Friends and coworkers. I mean, they're all such a great. I mean, it's so important to have a support system. So I know I'm not really naming. I'm just sort of naming a lot of people, but so a support system is so incredibly important. And I'm sure you meant so much to your mother. I'm sure, and so you would know what it means to give support in a very special way. And when you talk about your mother, one thing I wonder what percentage of cases with Parkinson's do involve some of that cognitive you dilemma that you talk about, because I mean that's a fear I think of every person with Parkinson's is that they could develop that cognitive challenge in addition to the physical. I mean, there's a lot of people who avoid that altogether. I mean, Michael J. Fox has had Parkinson's for all these years, and he still seems to be very. I mean, he would say his memory has slipped a bit, but he's obviously very much coherent and sharp, and others are. But that's I wonder when you talk to people with Parkinson's, what percentage do you think deal with that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and it's one that not everybody again has delusions and hallucination, but
Yeah.
oddly enough, just a week or two ago, a major company reached out to me because they want to highlight hallucinations and delusions and Parkinson's because it's
Mhm.
something for some reason that you don't see or ever talked about. And ironically, a week ago, if you notice, and everyone listening, Ryan Reynolds, the famous actor, literally came out throughout national TV and the media and social to talk about his father who had Parkinson's, but due to the delusions and hallucination. So that's like literally the first time I've ever even heard anyone talk about it at all. So I kind of thought maybe it was a late onset dementia, but I'm not a medical doctor. So then I was reading more, and it is one of the stages 5. So there's about, they believe, 5 stages. It's not 100% accurate of Parkinson's, and the final one does talk about hallucinations and dementia, hallucinations and delusion. So there's so much needs to be done, and the only way to do that is by us even just addressing it today. So it's definitely something they always say, like, stay tuned, but it's not something exciting. You know, it's something that's tough.
Yeah.
We talk about it's important because people will know more about it. I didn't know what to do. Even this sitting here was kind of more in shock because, you know, you can't really train to be a caregiver. I didn't know what was going on. Again, the doctors say 15 medical experts say you don't die of Parkinson's, you die with it. My mom was only 69, had no other medical issues, so we can't understand sitting here today how she progressed so quickly in the last 4 years. But like I said, that does not mean it will happen to everybody else.
Right.
This,
Yeah. And we all know that like our bodies are not,
right.
they're not built to last forever. Obviously,
Yeah,
there's,
I'm already, I'm already
yeah,
full. I feel like the pieces, I'm actually like a robot. If I show you, when we're done, I'll send you my back. If you send me your number, I'll send you a picture of my back, but
sure.
not good. It looks like
Yeah.
the,
But I mean, at the same time, we all want to preserve good health as long as we can. You know, so it's kind of this balancing act of
yeah.
realizing we all get old and life has its run, it runs its course, but the longer we can stay healthy, it also we have a natural desire for that and
I
purpose
always
to do
I would joke and say if I never worked out in my life, I might be healthier because I've broken
it.
everything. Because
Right.
I was a personal trainer when I was young, went to police. I passed the FBI exam to be a special agent. And it was just, you know, that was tough physical. But then I woke up at 42 and I don't know what happened. No accident, nothing. I just couldn't feel my back. And it was a
Sure.
journey for me. And I don't write a book on it because people want to read the book that you don't need surgery, not the one that you need, you know, for.
Right.
And I can't say today sitting here that I'm better. I'm actually, you can't tell, but I have a brace right now on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually had double fusion surgery in my neck when I was like I think 39. So yeah, so I've had a back surgery or neck surgery of sorts myself. So yeah.
Seems we have too much in common. And the
I
back.
know, I know.
The next question is, as we wrap up soon, is there something that you might have done differently looking back the last 10 years?
No great answer comes immediately to mind.
Okay.
I'm sure that, I mean, just, I mean, every day I'm sure I make mistakes that I would like not to make. So, I mean, I'm sure there are things that I would have done different from day to day and over the past 10 years. Um, you know, I'm often aware of my sort of, lack of, I mean, of my sort of foibles and faults and things I could do better, but no great answer springs to mind as to anything, one thing that I would have done different. I'll probably after we're done talking, I'm sure it'll come to me. So
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Here's one that is not always easy. If you're right, and I think I know the theme at least for basketball, but if you were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you call it? I think Basketball Diaries is already taken, and it's not even about
right,
not even
right.
about basketball.
And the funny thing is, probably basketball is not something that I mean throughout my life that others would associate with me, um, but it's just become such a big part of how I deal with Parkinson's, and it has always been something I've enjoyed. But if I were to write a script about my life, yeah, I mean, I really don't know what I would title it. Just maybe
Mhm.
purpose, I suppose, because I mean, the one thing I want to keep is purpose with positive optimism, and just you know, not looking to the future even with hope. And so that's what I would like to be a sort of a theme of my story, I guess, if I could pick something. So.
Thank you. And last question, and also please let us know how we can reach you. But if you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
I mean, it sounds cliched and it's used by others, but just keep moving. I mean, I don't think we can stress that it's, again, it's not original, but it to me, it does seem like the main thing in terms of managing this disease is to just keep moving. Like today, one reason I almost was late for this podcast was my wife and I actually went hiking at a state park, Fort Benjamin Harrison State Park, and I sort of forgot when we were leaving for the park that we had this coming up when we did, and I mean, we just kind of did it on a whim, but it was just yet another way of just staying active. So I would say, I mean, that would be my advice. And it's funny, I had COVID recently, and it really, so for a couple of weeks I couldn't do as much as I usually did, and I felt the effects immediately of just not being as active. And so constant activity seems to be such a key.
I appreciate it. And finally, how can everyone reach you if they did want to ask a question or talk about some basketball statistics?
Sure. Well, I mean, you can always look me up on Facebook or Twitter. I don't mind giving my Gmail is billmccleary71@gmail.com. And McCleary, you'll probably, I don't know if you'll spell it on your visually on your screen, but it's 2 C's and 2 E's, billmccleary71@gmail.com. And my Twitter is Bill McCleary01.
I appreciate
X. I say Twitter still, but I know it's X.
Yeah, they change it every week.
Right. And I'm on Instagram as well, but oh well.
Well, I wanted to thank you for your time. Again, we send our love and support to your family and thank them for all they do. Everyone listening, thank you. Also, please share this. Please follow and support Bill and all that he does, including the Parkinson's Foundation Moving Day Walk. I'm sure he'll be posting a lot too. You could help support him and his journey. And again, you inspire me and so many. Just have a little message for you and everyone listening as the thunder here in Florida is getting louder and louder. We'll probably end up in a hurricane flying away, but I'll still be doing this show no matter what. So, we love you. We support you. We care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with Bill, will advocate for you, and together our voices are so much stronger. And I always end the show by saying I'm just getting started because, like, when there's tough days for myself, and I want to give up, but then I think about and see something like you and what you show on the basketball court and all the effort and the hard work and the sweat, the blood and the tears. There's a movie name, but all that you do inspires me to keep pushing too. And I will never stop until we find a cure. So again, I'm just so grateful for your time, your friendship. I feel that we'll be doing a lot more together. And I just think everyone out there should just grab a basketball. You can get a smaller one. You can even have the one where you put it on your door now if you can't even move much and shoot and just get the ball and rebound yourself. There's so many ways in the world of sports, specifically my favorite. I should have worn my jersey, actually. I thought about it. We didn't have time to plan it, but I have like some of the legends like Jordan and Magic and Bird, and it's just I live by basketball. I'm actually sad right now as we sit here on 9/1/2024 because the season's still off. So we're waiting until NBA comes back. Olympics are okay, but it's not the same. But I think you're muted.
Oh, I shouldn't be. Can you
I
hear
hear
me?
you. Yeah.
Wait, I think we had the WNBA. We're really excited
Um,
about the Indiana Fever here in Indianapolis. Yeah,
I was a
yeah,
little sad about the WNBA because I was excited. My daughter played in the league and I ran right to the internet, get a ticket for Miami, but their team folded, I guess, years ago.
oh,
I forgot
okay,
what they named the Miami Soul, SOL, and they
okay,
don't have a team. And you think in Florida would have a women's basketball team, but
yeah.
just didn't work out. Maybe they should try again. So anyway, the two of us can continue this because there's so much about basketball sports and you can see the passion and love for it, mental
And by
health.
the way, can I add one more thing?
Please.
There's stay tuned because there might be a basketball program for people with Parkinson's uh,
Beautiful.
coming out of the out of some things that are happening. I guess it's okay to say, I've spoken with the National Institute for Fitness and Sport, which is based here in Indianapolis. There's some interest on their part, and they already have some programs for like elderly people, and they have programs for people with Parkinson's, in addition to just the general population, fitness wise. But there's some interest, it seems, on the part of some parties in potentially doing something for the Parkinson's community that would be kind of a basketball based version of rock steady boxing, sort of, if that makes sense. So hopefully we'll have news on that front.
Oh, that's exciting. And I say here is breaking news, everyone. I don't have the
There you
sound
go.
effects, but we need a flashing thing.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, please let me know. I mean, we've taken the show on the virtual road, I call it, where I'm going out to live events, even your moving day, in just 10 minutes, 15, I can zoom in even to your phone. We can show the event like basketball and show it to the world. That would be amazing. So trying to also be innovative, everyone listening. And, these shows are great. I love it. I love Bill. I love all that you do and all that everyone listening. We're grateful for your support. Please keep sharing this. Again, I always say this conversation cannot end today. It only ends when Parkinson's disease ends. So we have so much more to come. Thank you again, Bill. Thank you, everyone listening. And I just want to let everyone know we love them. We support you and you're never alone. And thank you again. This has been another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son. Please stay tuned. So much more to come. And you never know, me and Bill might end up being on a basketball court showing this someday, even if it's not live, it's virtual. So thanks again, everyone. Love you.